Kat, we're talking about mental health, and I know that for many years you suffered with severe anxiety, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us a wee bit about that?
Yeah, that was around the same time as my eating disorder and me being diagnosed with the hormonal condition polycystic ovarian syndrome. So I felt at the time, and being a therapist, a lot of it had to do with my diet, but the anxiety itself was every day. It would take over my whole day and I would overthink it. I would overthink my thoughts and my emotions. Also, I think back then I didn't know my triggers, so I would go out a lot and drink a lot and party a lot, and that would lead to a lot more anxiety. I was eating healthy, but I think I was really stressed, so that led to a lot of anxiety, not getting to the root of the problem. So it was like literally a turnover every day, just getting worse and worse and worse, but just the obsessive thoughts and not being able to sleep.
Yeah,
definitely.
And we had a joke on the phone the other day when we were talking about this, you know, about the partying, and and Kat's so cute because she was like, and you know when you're out and you know those things that you regret the next day, and I'm like, yeah, and you wake up in fear and self-loathing about what did I do last night, and you were like, yeah, because you know I'd fall on the floor. It's really not that big a deal. But and then I'd say to you, you know, and then so what would you do? Like you'd wake up the next day and you'd remember these things, and that would make you more anxious. And I said to Kat on the phone, so what would you do to make yourself, you know, feel less anxious? And you said,
I'd have a drink.
So like we love a drink. It's not about that really. It's just more about that was masking for you. Right.
Absolutely. And I think back then I didn't really understand that what you feed yourself actually has such an impact on your mental health and your inner health and just anything that you're going through in terms of anxiety or depression, or hormonal conditions like I had polycystic ovarian syndrome. All that was doing was increasing cortisol, which increases anxiety, increases adrenaline, and then how can you sleep when you've got such a high amount of hormones just circulating and recirculating? So I was feeding that anxiety.
So can you mentioned, I know you've mentioned earlier in the series about triggers. It's something I'm learning a lot about at the minute. How did you begin to learn about the triggers?
My healing didn't happen right away at all. It is learning about yourself and learning your triggers in the sense of, I knew that my triggers was me, overthinking. Going out, I loved it and I still love going out, but I'm not the type to go out all night. I love my early nights. So for me, identifying that I loved my early nights and I'm a morning person. So that was probably my number one thing. And learning more about my lifestyle, so what to feed myself, actually studying nutritional therapy and discovering more about how your foods affect your mind really helped me, because I could relate back thinking, oh my gosh, I definitely felt that, but I was already on my road to recovery, so I already kind of understood this whole world and I started to apply it.
So then you said you were already on that journey, so was it something that you felt like enough is enough, I need a change, or what was your shifting point, your turning point then with the anxiety?
When I got to the point where I wasn't getting anywhere, you know, obsessive thoughts and overthinking and doing things over and over again when you know that it's a blatant trigger. So what's the point? How are you going to achieve something if you just keep doing the same thing that holds you back over and over again? So if it's just one thing, and for me that one thing was going to bed early, waking up early, because I'm a morning person, that does not work for everyone, but that automatically will reduce my anxiety levels. And over time, I remember one day waking up thinking, oh my gosh, I can't remember the last time I was feeling anxious.
Really?
Yeah, I've been free from it for years. 5 years, maybe 4 or 5 years.
Your husband has come alongside you in this to support you, hasn't he? He's come up with a brilliant acronym.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
Yes, it's called BLAST, and so if you're bored, lonely, anxious, stressed, or tired, then that can actually trigger so many things. And obviously my eating disorder and anxiety and stress, all of that leads to so many mental health illnesses that we don't realise. And I think the more we feed our mental health illness, the worse it can get. So you need to nourish it and feed it what your body's craving rather than the things that make it worse.
Speaking of which, the majority of us girls in this room have been to see Kat to get a bit of a better understanding in terms of our health and what we should be eating or not. But we actually have a hashtag called #Don'tTellCat. So when we go for that McDonald's, or we go for like the big piece of cake, and we'll take a selfie, #Don'tTellCat, and then we send it to Kat as a bit of a joke. But you know, it's obviously everything with moderation really is something that you've been teaching us. It's not like when you're saying about what we put in our body helps our mind, it doesn't mean that we can never have the cake again, right?
Absolutely, it's all about balance. And I think people look at me as being a nutritional therapist, oh, she must eat healthy all the time. Or even on my day off, I'm not even looking on people's plates, but they're like, oh, Kat's sitting next to me, what am I eating? I'm like, seriously, I have not looked on your plate. I think mental health is more than what you put on your plate, and it's more than what you put in your body.
Okay.
It's actually what neurotransmitters are you releasing in your brain.
Can you break that down for me then?
Yeah.
Neurotransmitters.
So neurotransmitters, they're almost like they're chemical messengers that are released in our brain. And if we release too much dopamine, for example, that can be from looking at too many electronics late at night, then the dopamine will be used too much, then that increases anxiety and it increases depression.
Wow.
Whereas the counteract to that is actually you need to try and release another neurotransmitter called GABA, and that's a relaxation one, so you can get that through reading a book rather than looking at electronics. And that actually helps reduce anxiety and reduce depression. So there's so many things for us to do, and if somebody's eating healthy but not looking after their mental health and their stress, then it's not going to work. You've got to look at the whole person.
Next time on the 7 series.
That was my darkest moment of depression. Do you know that was when it actually hit me what I had been battling, what I had been carrying, and the darkness that had been over me for 3 years? Like that moment, like that was the hardest thing, and I didn't know how to get over that.